What if I told you there's one man in the Bible who never died? Not Jesus, not Elijah. Someone from Genesis chapter 5, a chapter most people skip because it looks like just a boring list of names. But hidden in this genealogy is one of the most mysterious stories in all of Scripture. In the previous chapters of Genesis, we saw creation, the fall of man, and the first broken family. Sin entered the world, and death followed. But Genesis chapter 5 tells us something important. God did not abandon humanity. This chapter is not just a list of names. It is a record of life continuing, generation after generation. Today we walk through Genesis chapter 5, build, and discover why this chapter still matters to us today. Genesis 5 begins by reminding us that man was created in the image of God. Even after the fall, that image was not erased. Adam lived, he had sons and daughters, and life continued. Though sin brought death, God's design for life remained. This genealogy reminds us that every generation carries both the weight of sin and the gift of life. As we read through the chapter, a pattern emerges. A man lived, he had children, and then he died. Over and over again, the same phrase appears. These long lifespans remind us of the closeness of early humanity to creation. Yet the repeated words, "and he died," remind us that the consequence of sin was still at work. But then, something changes. 9 times we've heard it. And he died. And he died. And he died. And he died. Then we meet Enoch, and the pattern breaks. Genesis 5:24 doesn't say, "and Enoch died." It says something no other verse in this chapter says. Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more because God took him away. No death, no grave, no funeral, just gone, taken by God. Hebrews 11 tells us Enoch pleased God and that God took him without experiencing death. In a chapter dominated by death, Enoch is proof a life lived with God can overcome what seems inevitable. Reset. Methuselah lived 969 years, the oldest human being ever recorded. But here's what most people miss. The flood came the year Methuselah died. His very name in Hebrew means, when he dies, it shall come. God gave humanity 969 years, nearly a millennium of patience, a living countdown to judgment. Every year Methuselah lived was another year of God's mercy. Even in the face of coming judgment, God was slow to anger and rich in love. The chapter ends with the birth of a baby. His father names him Noah, which means rest or comfort. Listen to what his father prophesied. Gentle, he will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands caused by the ground the Lord has cursed. They didn't know how right they were. This baby would grow up to build an ark, to survive the flood, to become the father of a new humanity. Genesis 5 ends with hope walking into the story. And in our next episode, we'll see exactly what that hope looked like. Here's what we just discovered together. Genesis 5 isn't a boring list. It's a testament to God's faithfulness 1,656 years. It's proof that one life lived with God can break the pattern of death. And it's a promise that even when judgment is coming, God prepares redemption. And if you're finding these explanations helpful, consider subscribing as we continue this journey through Scripture.